that way. I don't mean to. All right, here we go. How's that person already on there already?
Always.
Okay, we'll give it a few minutes for people to log on. There you go. He's fixing his screen there.
He's zooming in.
Oh, hold on. John just got another 3 offers as we just started this live stream. Good evening, everyone. Here we are at Thursday night.
Oh, I was off for the days today.
God, could you believe it's December 8th already, John? Is that crazy?
It's flying by, buddy. It's flying by.
God, it goes by so fast. Satori Hawes is on.
Hey,
hello, Satori. How are you? You may recognize this gentleman.
The what? You got the troublemaker on here?
So,
I said you got the horse kid on there?
Joining us tonight, the man needs no introduction. He is a legend. And if you don't know him, I don't know where you've been for the last God knows how many years, but this is the legend, John Zaffis, joining us again. Thank you, John. Great to see you as always.
Good to be here. Good to see you.
I would love to have people to have just a little bit of insight of the conversations before and after. We
wouldn't have anybody talking.
Let me tell you, this man here has been very, very good to me. Always. This is typical my interaction with John Zaffis. Hey, John, I got a question for you. What do I do about this? Then call me or my phone rings. And literally, I did this last night to him.
He talked you off a ledge.
It was pretty late. It was around 10 o'clock. And we talked, and he gave me great advice like he always does. And talked me off the ledge because he knows me.
Because my voice is not good enough, John. He has to hear yours.
Hey,
Tell him the same thing.
This is a legend. You're not. You're in the same boat as me. We're that same list. We're 99 and 100 in some particular order. You and I. Anyway, thank you for being here, John. It's always great to see you. We're going to talk about a lot of different things here. John has been good enough to send us pictures of haunted objects that are in his museum. And for those of you who don't know, a lot of you should know, but John has had a museum for how many years, John? Have you, honestly?
I've been collecting probably a good 45 plus years. The actual museum building, I think, is 11 or 12 years old, I believe.
Okay. And again, these other museums out there, the more recognizable, Zach Maggins, and these other ones out there that a lot of people know of. But, John has been looking for a space for his stuff, and it's overtaken the entire other building that's attached to his house and then some. I would hate to see, God forbid, anything ever happen to you. I hope you live to 100, 150, 200 years old. But
it's got to be one hell of a tax.
Poor Cheryl is going to be like, what do I do? What do I do? Cheryl's John's wife. She's going to be like, because there's like those shows like American Pickers where, they sell items that, people have in their parents and grandparents had in their, John's got nothing but haunted objects. What's going to happen to that
One
stuff?
heck of an estate.
Do you have a plan? Have we talked about this? Is there a contingency plan if, God forbid, something ever happened?
Well, I kind of, got things kind of set up for what's going to happen, but you always have to wait to see what's going to end up happening down the road. I mean, that's one of the biggest things why I always wanted to get a building, get it established, and, everything will be in place. So all the items will have the stories attached instead of being up in my head.
Yeah.
With a lot of the stuff. So, that's, the objective of looking at something, at a piece of property. I mean, there's something I've had my eye on, been keeping a close eye on it. And, if it does happen, it's going to be super cool. It's 3 buildings. The one building on the property, 1742, I believe.
Wow.
And, again, it's just something that would work out. But when you go into all this, you have to deal with zoning and planning.
Right.
There's so much that you have to do the steps before you could even, move forward with it. but there's actually two pieces of property I have my eye on. I'm waiting to see what's going to happen.
Oh, cool.
I've been saying that now for 5 years since I lost the deal, or
I know,
that
I've heard it.
even longer. But again, too, that's what my long term plan and my goal is to establish something like that. I mean, again, too, Zach Bagans was very fortunate. The young
Right.
man had tons of money to be able
Right.
to get things going and build it and construct it, and it's the number one tourist attraction out in Las Vegas.
I know. Maybe you sell that. Maybe you sell that Nutcracker collection you got there. Maybe, and you could finance the.
Well, the running joke is all three of my kids say it all the time. They go, "Daddy, make sure you sign everything." I go, "Why?" They go, "It's going to make it worth more when you're gone."
Yeah, there you go. How true is that? I'd hate to think of that though. So again, John has been in this field for a very long time, not just with the haunted objects, but he's still working on cases. That's why when I reach out to him and I don't hear back from him, he knows I harass him until he does respond. But he'll always say to me, "I've been really, really busy with cases lately." Have you seen that really pick up now that the pandemic seems to be?
I don't know if I necessarily would say that, but again, I hate when my hat's crooked. It drives me nuts. Again, there's a lot going on. I'm going back out more,
Right.
In doing some of the things I do, because people say to me, "Well, you don't really work on cases anymore," and I go, most people don't even realize what I do or
Right.
what I get involved with. There's a lot of different spiritual people out there I get involved with, helping them and doing different things, and it's just stuff that just never sees the light of day. And then doing my own cases. Would I say I really seen an uptick? Not necessarily an uptick, but I just started going back out doing things and investigating again. So the past couple of years, no, done very little.
Now I remember when we went out to dinner and you let me come inside the museum, which was awesome.
Do you know how many people love that picture of you and Chris in front of
I know
fireplace?
that's the one. Not many people
You
know
put it up
that.
the other day, I laughed so hard. I said, "People love that picture."
Yeah, that's. I mean, 200 people like that picture, and it's in John's house. But when we were there, it was still pandemic.
He's asking for royalties on that. Is what he's asking.
Don't give me any ideas. But pandemic-ish, and you were kind of apprehensive about even going and getting some food and being out there.
Yeah.
You still have those issues, or you think you're kind of?
No, I gave up on it. It's like, again, I don't know any of us that haven't had COVID. I think all of us caught it at different degrees.
Yeah, we got it.
And I've had it several times already, and I'm vaccinated galore, washed my hands, watched everything, and I'm like, I still freaking catch it. So
yep, it don't matter.
Like,
it don't matter.
It's just the strangest thing. And again, I'm guarded, I'm careful, but it's to the point. We're going into the third year, and we're all going.
You have to live.
So no, we have to go out. I mean,
yeah, we have to live. At some point, you have to re-engage.
Yeah, I was wondering if I was ever going to see you or Chip Coffey ever again. I mean, the way kind of thing. Chip was like, I was shocked that Chip came to the expo this last time, but I did expect him to be in a spaceman suit, which I was hoping would happen.
But he had parameters. He was smart. He had parameters of where if you want, he was in a separate room, and if you wanted to meet him, you had to be in a mask, and it was only so many allowed in the room at the time. So he safeguarded himself.
So we're going to talk about some of the haunted objects in your museum. I just, out of my curiosity, you know how my brain works, I'm all over the place. Has there ever been an object that, even for you, that you looked at and went like, okay, like this is haunted? You know what I mean? Like, even if it was something like a Mickey Mouse or you know what I mean? Has there ever been anything you've gotten where you were just like, really? This? Or are you just pretty much open to that anything could have an attachment?
I'm pretty much open to this just for the plain simple fact that the possibility. I always look at it, the possibility is there. No matter what, an item can be or what the item could be associated with, you don't know what that item might have meant to somebody else.
Right, right.
So therefore, again, I take that into consideration immediately. But I always, 99.9% of the time, say to myself, I doubt it's going to be haunted. Well,
right.
Then you get involved, you get readings around it, or you'll get something around it, or again, too. And I know when I hold something, we call it psychometry, and if you pick up creepy vibes off of something, right then and there, that tells me you got some type of energy attached to
it.
I don't think items could be possessed.
Right.
I fully believe that it's energy that's attached to them.
Right.
Just like a house, just like land. So therefore, I look at that, there's been times where I would say, no, I don't think we weren't getting anything. Several different people with me that are gifted people weren't picking anything up. And then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose with this freaking item. So again, it's just that type of environment where I just take that step back because you just never know. You never know.
If I asked you, I'm curious if you could you could even kind of tell me this, because I've seen everything just from what I've seen, and I know there was way more. If I asked you to give me any of the top 3 items that you think are dangerous in your collection, could you name 2 or 3 of them that without a doubt you're okay?
Yeah, definitely when you deal with occult items and things that were used and different things like that. I have daggers. I have, why am I drawing a blank? Dybbuk boxes, as they're referred to, that I know a couple of them, really has some nasty mojo attached with them. There's an idol that I have that was removed from a altar. Those are things that I look at and I just keep, my guard up with, because they were the energy that's attached to those types of items, that was done with a purpose and intent. So therefore, I have to view that differently. Then I do the dolls. I got a billion and one dolls. So again, it's just, my fascination. I just like to have dolls. 66 years old. And I have more dolls than any other guy
no judgment here.
No, and he puts it out there publicly.
Again, it's the nature of the item. I think the way I look at things and the way I view things, because people, often say, well, you should have activity off the Richter scale down in the museum. People come in, they pick up things, they get EVPs, they get pictures, they'll pick up on a lot of things. I'll go, oh, okay, that's cool. I very seldomly have any activity per se with me. So, and if it does occur and it does happen in the environment here, a lot of times I probably just don't even pay attention to a lot of stuff.
But you had mentioned these items that you deem as kind of the more quote unquote dangerous ones.
Yeah.
Is that just based on the story around them or what the people were dealing with, or could you tell right away when you handled these objects or got these objects that, hey, what they were saying was true, that this is some bad mojo here, some bad juju?
Both. I would say both. A lot of times, again, like I said, I work with psychic people, or you want to call them psychometrists, give or take, and and a lot of times I won't say anything, and I say, what can you pick up off of this or something? Are you feeling anything? And if it even is like 50-50 of something that I felt near an item or something like that, that's basically telling me, okay, you're dealing with something that's legit and it has something with it. So again, when looking at a lot of that and interpreting it, it's just that, interpreting.
Right.
And trying to figure out, because unfortunately these items can't talk back to us. If they do, well, then that's a TV show right there. But
hey, hey, I hear the phone ringing. I gotta pick that up. So, people throw around the word, I think we may have talked about this in the past, attachment. Have you ever felt like you've had attachments, whether private case, objects, anything? Did you ever feel like you had something on you that stayed with you, or that you had to have someone kind of take care of, or you know how to take care of yourself? Or
Well, actually, both. Again, too, especially years back, when there were things occurring and things happening, you know, uh, years back, we used to spend a lot of time on cases. I mean, the haunting in Connecticut, we spent 9.5 weeks in there.
wow.
So,
Oof.
I mean, that's a tremendous amount of time to spend in a, in an investigation. And there has been several other ones over the years that I had spent an enormous amount of time in, and it does affect you. I will say that
Right.
it can and it will. The environment, the people, all of
pulls
these
you
things,
in.
come into play and affect you. So again, with that, having any spiritual people around or anything, having them pray over me or do blessings or anything like that, whether I feel something or not, I prefer to have it done.
Okay.
So it's just when it comes into the spiritual end of dealing with a lot of this stuff, I look at it totally differently than I do, at any other point. I mean, when I'm lecturing or, doing conventions or anything, I'm always horsing around, as you guys know. But when I'm out investigating, it's a totally different environment.
Right.
And a lot of the people that are in my core group, I mean, we've all worked together 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
So that's a long time for, your core group to still intermingle and get involved with things. So they know, again, too, and I'll always hear them. They go, "Uh-oh, he's quiet." And it's because I'm trying to analyze. I'm trying to interpret, what are we dealing with? How are we dealing with it? And what the environment is all about. Because those are
But
key.
I think you said something that's very key that people can learn from. Your core people that you've been with for 34 years, they're such a knowing of each other that you can clue into what's going on.
And he trusts these people.
Yeah.
He's known them. So
Yeah.
So they'll know when you're in danger or when whatever, like you said, when you get quiet, whatever. I mean, that's essential when you do these type of things.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because again, too, with your environment, it's a key element. You have to have that trust. If that trust isn't there, forget it. Just
you're vulnerable. Nobody's watching your back.
Right. So it can get very complicated, and it can get to a point where are we worrying about the environment? Are we worrying about the place where we are? Are we worrying about the individuals that could be with us? There's so much to take in. And the way I evaluate things and the way I look at things at residential cases is so different from when we do commercial pieces of property. It's night and day. A commercial piece of property I'm going to look at, totally differently than I would dealing with an individual or a family.
Right.
So.
What is your theory on that? Like, take the difference between an object having a quote unquote attachment and a person. Do you think it's the same thing? Can an entity, a spirit, whatever you want to call it, can they remain with a person as long as they can, let's say, with an object until that's dealt with? Do you believe that?
I would look at that again a little bit differently, John, because people have free will,
right?
And people can choose whether they're going to have something continue or they're going to move forward to be able to break that cycle.
Right.
So therefore, where with an item or a building or a piece of property, I would look at that differently because sometimes we don't know. We have to take that step back for a few days to see if any activity is going to continue, if things are going to die down, or are they going to escalate? It can go either way. So
no, I kind of agree with that because I believe that I think I've had a few attachments, and there was a time or two where I had to have it kind of dealt with, some help with it, but there were other times where I did feel like I had something still connected to me, but after a day or two or three, I felt better. and I felt more like
it was like it was becoming less and less each day.
Yeah, I didn't think the hold was
like
the same as it would be, say, with an object. An object is inanimate. It's, like you said, there's nothing there except for the connection. There's nothing fighting that or
Oh, he gets snipped when he deals with stuff that's dark. He gets snippy. He's mean. He's obnoxious. He's like, and I'll say to him, "Are you okay? You're gonna like, I'm fine. I'm not being angry." And I'm like, "Yeah."
Hold on, my ear. I can't. What?
You need to take a step back there,
sir. Connection. So she talks about me trying.
That's a good thing that you just brought up when you said take that step back. Again, all right, good example. And you guys know how I am with Christmas. Christmas has nothing to do with the paranormal as far as I'm concerned. I don't want, I get into my thing. It just makes me freaking happy. Takes me back to when I'm a little kid. Yep. It's a fun time. It's a mystical time.
Yeah.
And when people go, "Oh, are your ornaments haunted? Oh, is all your stuff haunted?" The freak do I want haunted my house for Christmas for?
Yeah, I got the tree from Penhurst. I got the lights from Waverly Hills. I've had the
this ain't the Christmas Carol show.
Come on, it's so ridiculous.
That again, today that's something that I see where people live this and breathe this 24/7, and that's not healthy.
Right.
It's not. I don't care what you get involved with, whether it's the paranormal, you're a doctor, a nurse, a cop, a fireman. 24/7 is not a healthy environment to be in, and a lot of people do that today. Everything is paranormal. No matter what it is, it's got to be paranormal. Well, whatever happened to just going out to the bar, hanging with your buds, and having a few beers?
Yeah, there's no perspective there. That's an obsession. That's not normal.
So, but it's very common today.
Yes.
Everything has to be paranormal. Their whole life has to be paranormal. But again, I don't know. I don't know if it's because I'm so old school. That's the way I was brought into it. You separated the two. You have to have a normal life, and I've always, I've always.
Okay, so here we're living human beings, and here's the dead. So if you spend your whole life focusing on what's past and gone, where do you get value of what you're doing in life if you don't have that healthy?
That's a very good analogy of it. Very good analogy. But again, too, I've seen the paranormal destroy a lot of people's lives.
Oh yeah.
Continuously, these elements can influence when that environment has such a grip on an individual. And I could take it to the other end of it too. I know a lot of police officers and firemen that from the job, being involved with it all the time, it really does a number on them. So it's the same thing with the paranormal.
Right.
So, again, I can walk away. You guys here, John, you know this all the time. You can call me, and I'll usually call you back. The biggest reason, I walk out of the house, come out into my office to take telephone calls. And
that's the back cave.
Yeah, anything, anyways, we go through this stuff like that. I keep it separate, and then it's just it's just such a habit with me that I do it that way. It's like, no, that's business. That and stuff to talk about with the paranormal. I go out in my office and talk about it.
It is true, though. Having been there again, I don't think I'll ever be there again because I think he changed. I think he moved after he invited me over the one time. But having been there again, we came during November and beautifully decorated for the. I love Christmas, not maybe as much, but I do. She'll tell you, I love Christmas time. We go into the city. We do so many of these different local Christmas things. I love it, and it goes way too fast when you're older. But in John's home, beautiful home, beautifully decorated. And then I said, "Kate, can I see your museum?" And we go out and we go into the back cave. And there is the museum and all the objects. And then there's the office, which is part of that building. And it is two different worlds. Cheryl, John's wife, for those of you guys who don't know, Cheryl's not really into the paranormal. Cheryl is very even keel, funny, and just
Oh, wish her a happy birthday. Today's her birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Oh, God, yes.
But again, it is a great
we
mix.
both get to be 65.
Wow.
I like that.
But it is a great mix, between the two of you. And I was surprised that she was the way she was when we met her. I was actually like,
I liked her a lot.
Okay, yeah, she's funny.
She gets very intrigued with everything.
Yeah, I know.
And the biggest reason, and you notice that when we're all talking, she just sits there, and then it'll be like for 2 or 3 days afterwards, well, I never heard you say this. I never heard you say that. I never hear you talk about this or talk about that. But when any of your friends come over from the paranormal, she goes, you talk about so many different things. And I go, do you really want to hear about all that stuff? And she goes, no, I kind of like it when people come to visit. She said, because then I get to hear stuff that you don't talk about.
Yeah.
It's a whole different perspective. Yeah, she takes a lot in.
She was. She was just sitting there smiling, like listening back and forth. And I'm thinking,
but when she
my
has
God,
stuff
she hears
to
this
say,
stuff
she
all the
says
time.
it. I think she balances you.
I don't think it. I know it.
See, I need someone like that, John. I don't.
That's my rock.
Yeah. I need someone like that.
You have that.
Come on, we all know. All right, let's get to the haunted objects, because people are going to get mad at me because I'm taking all this time.
But to Cheryl, happy birthday. That's the big thing.
Yes, happy birthday, Cheryl. So let's start with object number 1 here, John. So you could see it. I had it up before. The thing that you said looked like an egg. I'm going to pop it up here on the screen for everyone. You guys could see that. Hopefully you could see it. I'm trying to figure out what it is.
You got the other picture before of just the box before it's opened? It should be the box with the 2 big blue stones on the top of it.
Right there.
All right. I didn't realize it was the, hold on a minute. All right, let me get that one there. All right, got that one. Go.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Now, you look at that. That, you could tell, that's been around for quite a while.
Yep.
It's got that creepy vibe to it instantly just looking at it. And, when it was actually gifted to me, this came from a professor at a university. And, for the past 15 years, he always would come out to hear me lecture and everything. He knew my aunt and uncle very well, et cetera, et cetera. Anyways, he was retiring. And he goes, I'm so glad you're on campus, this year. He said, I want to give you something. And, me with my humor, and I go, well, oh, what? You're going to give me one of your demon kids? What are you giving me? So, he handed me the box and everything. And I go, well, what is this even in detailing? Now go to the next picture when we opened it up.
Okay. Hold on. It's going to take me a second. Yep. Okay, that one.
Okay. So afterwards, when I was with him and we were talking and everything, I opened it up and I go, well, what's the relevance to any of it? What does it mean? And again, I just got taken back, and he goes, I studied over across the pond. I was in the UK, Ireland and Scotland and England. He said a lot of, my studying and stuff was over there. And like I said, he was retiring. He was up there in age. And he goes, I was working with a couple of different people over there. And one of the people that I was working with worked with Aleister Crowley.
Okay.
And I just stood there and went like that. I mean, I was like, okay. I said, I've known you all these years and I've never heard you bring this up. So anyways, he goes, supposedly this stone, from what he got told, it was gifted to him over there, and he brought it back and had it all these years. He said that he used it for scrying and used it for doing magical purposes.
Wow.
The key, he had no idea what the key meant. And he said he had asked the individual that gave it to him, and he just told him that it was a sacred object.
Oh.
Wow.
So I got taken back by that myself, because it doesn't unlock this little box or anything. It has nothing to do with the box. So, but again, I just thought that was extremely cool and something interesting to have a couple of or 3 objects that have belonged to Aleister Crowley.
What is that in the middle? Is that another box in the middle, or is that a journal or something?
It's a piece of wood. It's a piece of teak wood or something. Yeah, and I never had the opportunity to ask him what the piece of wood was, because it is attached to the box. But then I looked at it and I said, okay, it looks like it was literally put in there to keep the box from collapsing inward.
Yeah.
Because again, it just looks. It doesn't look to be as old as the copper boxes. So
Right.
again, unique, creepy vibes to it. Next time you guys are on,
Oh yeah,
definitely creepy vibe to the whole thing.
And
So
how many years ago was this about that you?
he did not tell
About?
me exactly the time framing. I just got it this past fall.
Okay.
I received it from him because he had it in his office and he was retiring. And he had a big mask that was in there. I looked at him and I said, geez, what are you doing with that mask? He goes, oh, no.
I do love the outside of the box, though. It's really different
anyway,
and original.
Between the mask that he had or getting this, I was more excited to receive this gift than, anything else. That's, again, Aleister Crowley is known as being the beast and, involved with everything extremely dark and everything else. But on the flip side of it, he was a brilliant, intelligent person.
Right.
And, very well accomplished with a lot of other things. So again, looking at all that and his studies within that, I just thought it was cool to actually have something that belonged to him and that he probably used in some of his rituals or something.
The thing about it, though, like you said, why those specific things in that box? That key had to relate to something somewhere.
Yeah.
I wonder what that mystery.
Well, the fact that he said it was symbolic, the fact that scrying, and the reflective surface on the outside with the two blue stones.
Yeah.
There's a lot there. There's a ton. There was a ton because I did ask him. I go, well, did this, he goes, no. He goes, this person gave me the box. And he said these two items were in there. I said, nothing else was in there. And he goes, well, there was some dirt, but I took the dirt out. And I went, oh! I said, you left the dirt in there.
Yeah, it was meant to be in there. It was part of it.
He goes, back in the days, I wasn't going to put that in my suitcase with dirt and get all that dirt. So I just, I laughed. But again, too, who knows where that dirt might have actually come from, too. So
I did think that was an egg when I first saw it, and we talked about it before. Yeah. I thought it was, I'm like, what is the egg with the book and the key? What does that have to do with anything?
It's a stone.
It is strange. Again, the things that hold energy are the things that are kind of relevant to people and that they did use for different, especially like you said, the scrying part of it, that's openly trying to communicate with spirits.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so that's kind of a tool.
I know, but the coolest thing with the whole thing is that, over the course of the years, talking to different people from over in the UK and everything, I'd always say, one of these days, I'd love to be able to get a relic from Aleister Crowley. And here out of the clear blue, without ever discussing it with this professor over the years.
That's crazy.
Says here, he said, it's better in your hands than somebody else's. And I'm like, again, that just made my whole day when that. Did
you just hear the power this man has? He says it, he puts it out there, and it happens.
I told you, he's the first one they call for all these shows. He's number one on the list. Boom, John Zaffis. I'm on the Rolodex. Oh God, Rolodex. I really am dating myself. They don't even have those anymore.
I still have my Rolodex. Shut up.
I guess, do they even have those anymore? Would anybody even know what those are anymore?
Hey, those things were very functional.
All right, let's the next object here. That one there. Could you see that, John?
Yes. That is a walking stick. That particular.
Oh, really?
Okay, that piece of wood came out of Dudleytown, a very, very known haunted location here in Connecticut. And the person that had it carved for them. They were a mystic, and they were into a lot of different things, magical things and everything. And they had several of them. And they had this one. I must have this, gosh, good 25, 30 years I have this walking
Wow.
stick. Yeah. And on the tip of it is red paint on the end of it. But I don't think that's any significance or anything. But when you hold this, John, it gives you such a vibration. I don't think that it's anything negative or anything of that nature. But again, anybody that ever gets that opportunity, to research or look up Dudleytown in Connecticut, in Cornwall, Connecticut, it's a dynamite place. We used to be able to go in there and investigate. It was very haunted. People had purchased the property years later, and now it's a reserve, and they don't like anything to do with paranormal.
Yeah.
So, they shut it down. And I don't blame them because people started trashing things and, causing a lot of issues. And I just, again, that's what happens sometimes.
And that's the problem with a lot of these. Not that I'm naming any specific person or group or anybody in particular, but there is the desire now for people to take kind of souvenirs from locations. And I'm not talking about any specific location, but people do, if they go into ABC or Acme Hospital that's been haunted and been on the map forever, and they go in there with their group or whatever, and they find a little toy or something, they do feel like, hey, this would be great to, you know what I mean? Without like thinking maybe that belongs there. Maybe it's there for a reason, and maybe it's been there as long as it's been there for a reason, and maybe you're not meant to
Yeah,
take
she never
that
walk
out
away with something unless it was gifted to you for any reason, or somebody wants you to take it.
It's the same thing with me. A lot of the locations out there that I have been on, I would always like to have something.
Right.
Usually the owner or the proprietor, whoever, if they will give me something, from the piece of property, I'm thrilled to death with that. Would I just take it? No, I won't do that.
Yeah, I mean, there are places that we work with that, these places are kind of getting broken into, and most of them aren't. They're public buildings, but they're not occupied. Nobody lives there. Nobody, is in the building all the time, and it's just a shame. Just to get sidetracked a little, that the paranormal field is very interesting, and the research is very interesting, and people have they want to know and they want to get involved, but it is a shame what some people will do and into some of these buildings and take some of these objects and just, I don't know. It's a whole kind of disrespectful type of thing. There's an underbelly there, in some places.
Again, too, I often always tell people that when you go, be careful if you take anything from the location, because you don't know what you're going to be bringing back with you. So you got to be guarded, and you do have to be careful. But here again, just like those couple of items from Aleister Crowley, if somebody probably didn't take them, back in the day or whatever, again, they probably wouldn't be around today. I don't know. I don't know if that's the circumstances or what the circumstances are tied in.
But you know what, though? There's almost like when you say, be careful if you take that home, you don't know what's going to happen. There seems to be the thrill seekers that they want to put that to the test. They look forward to that. Just like when you got your skydivers, like, oh, then I want it because I want to see if something's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even objects that don't have a negative attachment. Let's say, this water bottle is 100 years old, and the story is, or is that a sweet woman owned this bottle for 100 years, and she wasn't, she loved everyone, loved her family, great person with the community, went to church and all that stuff. Buying this bottle or acquiring this bottle and putting it into your home and your living space. What are your feelings on things like that?
I disagree with putting things in your living area. That's supposed to be your safe zone. So again, if you're putting things in the basement, okay, I mean, a lot of people don't have a garage. A lot of people don't have another building on the property.
Right.
Again, I just tell people to be very guarded, very careful. Right. Because I think your home should be your safe zone.
Yep.
Where you're comfortable, you don't have to. But people don't look at it that way today. They just
I
don't.
know.
No.
We live in a different environment today than, years ago. I mean, before I had the barn, I had my office downstairs and I had some objects in it. But
Right.
the hardcore items were always in a barn that I had on the property.
Okay.
I never had them all in
You kept it
until I
separate.
built this barn. Then I put everything in this one.
Yeah, she won't let me have anything in where we live. And the one thing that I did bring in, I didn't bring it on purpose. Somebody had sent it to me and I didn't know what it was when I opened the box. And Mama Lucia, this thing had something attached to it and her cat went crazy. And the vibe that came off of this thing, I had to get it out of here ASAP because it was just like I opened a cage and an animal came out of it. And I just, whoa, I got it right. So we made an agreement between us that nothing.
I told him if he brings anything home or gifted anything haunted, he even had stuff sent there. And I said, what are you doing? No, don't bring it in the house. Yeah. You have to take it down to the basement.
So even if I have anything, it's not here where we live.
Do it out in your Kia Soul. Don't do it in here.
See? That's why it's called the Soul.
But
that's why I bought that vehicle.
I want to go back to that walking stick.
It's my vault.
It is your vault. It needs to stay in your vault. But the walking stick, you talk about the energy, the feeling that you get off of that. And I think it's funny because I think that when they talk about psychic mediums reading stuff, that's what they're reading. They're reading the energy that's coming off of things, good or bad.
Yeah. Absolutely. They again, I believe very firmly in the fact of that too, is that any of us that are collectors or have these things, after a while you get that, you just get that sense, you get that ability where you're holding something, you're picking something. Okay, you know if you're picking up a vibe from something or not.
Yeah.
You know, the instinct's there. Would I recall myself a psychometrist? Never, because again, it's just the nature of it. When I'm working on something and somebody says something, and I go, well, if somebody hands me something, I'll stand there and say, well, I don't feel any, creepy feelings or anything with it. But,
and I think that's our own internal vibes now picking up on the vibes that are coming off of something or somewhere.
Yeah, but
we've become more open. Yeah,
we've spoken about this before.
Yeah.
Energy mixes with energy differently. So just because John's not getting a vibe and he doesn't claim
but this is what I'm saying.
Doesn't mean there's like not something that won't conflict with another person.
Of course. That's with anything. People connecting to people, or they don't. They're repelled by people, or, I always tell people when I do what I do is that I can walk into a place and feel very secure and very happy. John can walk into that place and say, this isn't working. My energy is not working.
Yeah. That again too, I think that's an important element, because you're getting the association where one person is and the other person isn't. So right away at that point, then my guard goes up.
Yep.
Okay, is there something going on here that's causing that to happen? Are we being influenced?
Yeah.
Because again, whether it's human spirit or something on a negative level, we can be influenced. Energy is energy.
Yep.
It just, again, I perceive it that way, and that's how I look at it. So therefore, if I'm working with 3 or 4 people and we're out investigating, you got a couple of people picking up, creepy stuff, the feeling stuff, and the other 3 people aren't. That doesn't mean that something isn't happening. It could be the simple fact that there's an influence that's taking place.
Yeah.
So, but before we get to the next object, I am going to do a shameless plug here before I forget. Finally, after years of begging and begging and begging, that the legend there, John Zaffis, will finally be joining
Chris, you get back on camera.
The legend John Zaffis will finally be joining New Jersey Paranormal for an April Fool's, yes, believe it or not, April, which he's probably lying to me. It's probably an April Fool's, which is why he picked that day. But it will be.
I can't believe you said that. I said that to Cheryl. I said, okay, that date, and I busted out. She goes, "What are you laughing about?" I said, "He's going to go."
He's not going to show up.
He's going to try and pull through that day and back out of it. What?
But John will be joining us at Haunted Camp Evans, which is an amazing site. April 1st, he'll be doing a meet and greet, a lecture, and he will be joining us for the ghost hunt as well. So I'm looking forward to that. Again, I'm happy to have you. I can't thank you enough for doing that. And I am looking forward to that a lot. So
it's an honor.
Let me thank you publicly for that as well.
So thank you.
It's playing without doing something with you because you'll haunt me afterwards.
Oh, you know it.
You can see, he'll tell you. I see these events he posts. Hey, you're doing an event with ABC Paranormal. What is wrong with us?
Because do I stink?
I thought maybe he was wanted in New Jersey. I thought maybe he's just afraid to come here except for once a year, and he doesn't.
He gets a pass? Is that what you're saying?
It's a furlough thing. Maybe he is. All right, let's do the next object here. I'm going to pull this one up.
Oh.
Okay, what are you feeling? What are you picking up?
I get creeped out from that one. It's a vibe. What about you,
Chris? What do you think?
I just think it's a ritual thing.
I don't know. I get the heebie-jeebies, man, just looking at it.
Okay. Now, the understanding I have from this item that the person had it was exactly what Chris just said. It was used as a ritual item.
Yeah.
Not at a negative level whatsoever. It's a Native American. And it was used for a couple of different types of ceremonies. And the person's father that had it had passed it on, but the wife didn't like having it in the house, and that's how I ended up with it. She insisted that there was something very negative with it, and etc. And again, too, we were trying to explain, and it just didn't matter to her one way or another. She just didn't want it in the house.
So you think that just goes based on the way it looked for her, or do you think she got an actual vibe from it, or you think she just was kind of like, I don't like the way it looks. It looks creepy. Get it out of here.
I think it was more the fact that it was creepy looking and she just didn't want it in the house.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason why you're looking at this and stuff, and of course, with Indian, you can see the animals on his face and what's painted, the horns on his head. You immediately know that this is something that's sacred. It's important. It's part of a ritual. It tells you the whole story right there looking at it.
Now, I look at that differently than I do per se when I say something is haunted. Is it something that has energy attached to it? Oh, there's no doubt in my mind. I mean, you can feel the vibration with it.
Yeah.
And you feel it. And he did explain to me that the paint was so bad on it that they repaint. He had repainted some of it. He was telling me. Right. So again, he was upset over it because it was something that belonged to his father. Like I said, he was part Native American, but anyhow, his wife didn't want anything to do with it. She didn't want it in the house at all whatsoever. But like I said, to me, I look at it more as a spiritual, quote unquote, type of an item that I really wouldn't say it's something that was haunted. But again, on the flip side of it, whether it's spiritual or not spiritual, it's got energy attached to it. Is it haunted? Good possibility. So again, depends on how people interpret things.
Right. And that's the intention that's put on it. When something's used for rituals, that's the intention. And when you say ritual, people automatically go to the negative side, but that's not what rituals always mean. There's so many different rituals. There's blessing rituals. There's wedding rituals. There's what do they call it? The hand fasting ritual. There's so many rituals that are not based in negativity.
But again, people are saying different things, with different vibes they get from it. But that's without touching it too. That's just looking at it. And
well, again, too, to answer that, Chris, yes. I mean, I look at things a lot differently. I know a lot of people, from a perspective, me going from a Roman Catholic perspective, when I get involved with the demonology end of it. But on the flip end of that, I can't say that I don't understand a lot of the different things. I've been at a lot of different ceremonies out there. I've witnessed a lot of different ceremonies out there, and there isn't anything on a negative level, but you try to tell some people that and they freak out on you.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, to me, that's important to get involved and learn, a lot of different people's belief systems and what they do, why they do it, how they do it. Because a lot of those rituals predate any organized religions.
Of course.
So therefore, then when you say that to somebody, they go, "What?" And I go,
yeah, they don't want to hear that.
Yeah, they don't. Again, you have to be very. It's analytical, and it's the fact of understanding and respecting of a lot of the different practices and belief systems out there.
Yeah.
Shoot,
Yeah,
I got more pagan and Wiccan and witch friends than I probably do Christian.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have, again, it's human nature just to run it through your own filter and the way you were brought up and the way your belief, you know what I mean? That's kind of normal.
Well, if you look at cultures for Indians and not the present day Indians, and we do have Indian in my family, South Dakota, the Blackfeet Indian, and a lot of Indians are portrayed in movies as being savage and
even
brutal.
the paranormal, some of the stuff is
savage,
dark.
brutal, very so. And when you don't have an understanding of what it is they're doing and what it means, then you'll see it from a different perspective and not understand that a lot of the things that they are, it's not brutal. It's all, they look at us as being brutal back in the day when you came down.
All right, here's the. Yeah, exactly. We were the savages.
That again is something that people don't comprehend or understand, quote unquote, because of the movies,
right? And
because of the way everything got portrayed. I mean, this was their land; they were here before any of us came, and
we took it.
It just it amazed me, how things are interpreted or how things look. Most people don't even realize, in the southern states, that a lot of their slaves were Native Americans.
Yes.
Yeah.
They weren't black people. They were Native American.
Yes.
So again, people don't even realize that, what, all the different nationalities and different things, what they've gone through or what, has transpired or happened. So again, last fall, I think we had talked about that when I witnessed Thunderbird when I was out in Arizona. I mean, to me, that, taking that step back and looking at it now, I mean, that was such an honor,
right?
Looking at it and trying to understand the culture and some of the things that tied in with the fact of the belief systems and everything. I think a lot of Native American beliefs and practices and things are they're so cool.
Yeah.
And they're so earthbound.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can put it to you. It's so connected. The earth and the land and everything meant more to them than absolutely anything. But again, that comes from getting involved and studying so many of these aspects. I mean, I was given a peace pipe by an elder, and when I was telling my two Navajo friends out in Arizona about that, they were like, "You are kidding," and I go, "No."
That's huge.
What an honor that is that an elder gave you a peace pipe, John. And I go, I thought it was cool. And they go, no,
family.
And
that's
I was like,
family.
Oh, okay. So, a lot of those different things in the way people interpret it, if they took the time and they understood some of it and, really got into it, you would view and look at things so much differently.
I'll make you laugh. All through my childhood, going through like traumatic stuff, a white buffalo would always appear, like even in front of the car when I drive, like in the fog. And I always thought it was just like a little,
well, it's
issue
from the
with
peace
that
pipe that you were smoking.
But anyways,
that was.
My mother finally talked to me and she says, you come from those roots, and the white buffalo was one of the big things that was part of the tribe that you come from. And I'm just like, what? I didn't know it.
All right. The last object looks friendly. I don't want to assume anything, but this is kind of festive, at least. There they are.
You want to know what their names are?
Yes.
Huey and Dewey. John and Chris.
Chris and John.
Let me guess which one's me. Let me look.
The bad one.
Let me look.
Here's the funny thing with this. I can't even tell you if those are haunted or not. But okay. I did that just for they were found in a sports coat in a pocket. Someone had bought this sports coat because they liked it and they wanted to wear it. And when they got it home, they went in the pocket and they pulled out these two little elf-looking things.
Huh.
And it was a friend of mine. and they go, I'm getting creeped out by these. I'm picking up bad vibes. I'm picking up bad vibes. I was holding them, and I go, well, whether they're haunted or not, they're sure as freaking creepy as hell. That's for sure.
They look like evil elves.
Two little Christmas elves. And the running joke is I've had 4 or 5 people, gifted people, hold them, and they tell me they're very negative.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how to interpret that or which way to take it. But to me, I just thought it was an actually comical thing with 2 items in a pocket. The guy pulled them out of the pocket, and he said, I got freaked out by him. He said, I got creeped out by him. And well, anybody else that's touched them told me they pick up creepy vibes from them.
Yeah, you want to hear something weird? Again, that kind of pertains to me and the way I'm real superstitious. I it's kind of like OCD for me. And if I buy, I'm not a big jewelry person or wearing things on my wrists or watches or anything. But if I were to get something from somewhere, buy it otherwise, if I wear it and I have a 2-3 days of bad luck after I buy it, in my head, I'm projecting that there's something going on with that thing.
Superstitious.
Either the guy who made it or the company that made it or I'm thinking there's something going on there that changed something for me, vibrations, whatever you want to call it. But I put it away and I never put it back on because I've revisited that and put them back on. And again, maybe it's psychosomatic, but I've had bad luck again and that's it. Last time I'll touch it.
But okay. Now, unfortunately, I have to say this. When any of us, I'm the same way. I mean, I have so many different rings. I have rings that
get
me through the, in jewelry and stuff. I just don't always wear them. I just don't. But you have to remember with the elements, you're dealing with silver, you're dealing with gold. If we're dealing with any type of stone, again, could there be energy attached to that, whether it's brand new or not? More than most likely, it's elements. But
you don't believe me. She does it. She thinks I'm nuts with this stuff.
But I was just getting ready to say to you, if you feel that way, you should get the piece of jewelry or whatever it is, get it blessed.
Yep.
Again, or if you believe in it, put it out in the sun to, help neutralize the energy. But again, you look at that and you can't rule anything out. Gold, silver, gemstones, any of that stuff. Rubies, pearl necklaces. I got 3 or 4 haunted pearl necklaces. So again, is the possibility there, whether it's an old antique piece of jewelry or a new piece of jewelry? Who knows? Because those gemstones, that gold and silver is old.
Yeah.
Right.
Might be a new piece of jewelry, but again,
I've actually seen 3 bracelets, and he replaced them, and he got the last one, and it was new. Literally explode right off of his wrist.
You know those tiger eye. You know those tiger eye bracelets. Jane Doherty will give me those every now and then. And literally, I'll just be wearing it, and
it explodes.
Boom! Right up. Boom!
It doesn't fight.
Well, my honey Jane gives up. Yeah, because she's trying to save you, dude.
I told her, could you make me a suit out of that, or could it only be a bracelet? Maybe I could a jacket made out of tiger eye. But anyway, I'm just weird, superstitious. But I did have a few objects. I brought them. I'm not a churchgoer. I'm not. I go to weddings, funerals. That's it. And I didn't. You'll get a laugh out of this. I didn't even know how to go about getting a blessing. I went to mass, which I never do. I sat and I listened to all this stuff that I didn't really understand because I don't go to church. I don't read the Bible. And I waited patiently. Now, the priest, when he was done, he left the altar and went in the back room. And I'm thinking, oh man, I'm not even going to get a chance to ask him to bless me and these things. So everybody started walking out, and I went on the altar and I went in the back room and I knocking on the door, and he opened the door and he was like, "Can I help you?" And I said, "You're going to think I'm nuts, but I have these things and I've had negative stuff." Now we're talking like a week straight. The stuff was getting worse and worse and worse. I said, a medium advised me a spiritual person. I didn't say medium, to get these things blessed.
And and something was attached to you.
So I said, could you do that for me? And he goes, I'll meet you in the confession. And I'm like, and where's that exactly? I didn't even know where that was. He goes, back of the room, left-hand side, there's a door. Just go in there. And I walk in there and I sit down, and he's saying a prayer. He's got the Bible. He's reading it, and he gives me the old, oil on the head, oil on the hands, handles the objects. And then he said, I'll tell you when to say amen. This is how bad I am. And I'm following along and I'm saying it. And he goes, okay, I'm done. I said, that's it? He goes, painless, right? I said, I'm good now? He said, yeah, you're good. And out the door I went. Yeah, exactly. Then the church collapsed after I walked out in the parking lot. But no, I get nuts over that, because if I'm a big believer in negative and positive cycles, you know what I mean? And when you get caught in one of those bad ones, and if it's something that's out of the norm, I look for reasons, especially if I bought something new. And even if it's a shirt, whoop, gone. Won't wear it again.
Do what I do. Blame everything on COVID.
I should try that.
Anything that goes wrong, anything that happens, I blame it on COVID.
I should try that.
Because of COVID, man.
So again, just so you guys know, the tickets will go on sale pretty soon. We were able to confirm the date, April 1st, Camp Evans with John Zaffis, unless it's an April Fool's joke. Only he knows that. But he's telling me he'll be there. He will be there. So you get to investigate with us and with him. And it's going to be a great night. The lecture, I'm sure, will be great. The meet and greet will be great. When the tickets go on sale, I'm sure they're going to go fast. So look forward to that. John, as usual, everything you've done for me, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Always there when I need some advice, whether I want to hear it or not. And, I appreciate you and everything that you've done for me.
Well, again, that's what friends are all about. The three of us together have always been very honest with each other.
Yep.
And again, that's what friendships are based on. When you can be friends with somebody and you can tell them something and you go, okay. And you look at it, and it's the fact that when we're speaking or we're going back and forth is to try to help each other.
Right.
Everything else goes out of the equation, like I always say to you. John, it's out of the equation. That doesn't have
And he sure does.
Our friendship is different from with the work.
Yeah. And he does. He puts it. And again, the talk we had last night was very Rocky Mickey. He coached me and he got me, because my brain is all over the place, and he knows that better than anyone. And he just said, well, this, that, this. And he was right. He was right.
Oh, sometimes I am.
I am so glad you talked him off the ledge and you talked some sense into him last night. Oof.
Yeah.
But we need to say one thank you for you doing this tonight, especially the fact that it's Cheryl's birthday.
I felt
we all need to wish her a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Cheryl. And happy holidays, John, to you and your family. Merry Christmas. Hope you have a great one, and looking forward to seeing you at the expo and doing something with you next year. And
safe and happy one for everybody.
Yeah, no, I went back to saying Merry Christmas. That's our term.
I like that one.
We've always done.
Me too.
And I respect everybody's holidays and everything.
Of
Merry
course.
Christmas and Happy New Year.
Of course.
Got that right.
All right, John, take care. We'll talk soon.
All right, guys, we'll be talking.
I'm sure I'll need something
Chris,
in a
keep
week
them
or
out
so.
of trouble.
I'll talk to you Tuesday, John.
See how he's not Sunday. I don't want to hear it.
Take care.
Night.
Take care, guys.